You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Boom, it's Rusty. What is up, everyone? It is Tuesday. It's a late show today. Welcome to the podcast, the public access podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. Coming to you from Intercourse, Pennsylvania-ish. So what is up? Yeah, everyone, thank you for being here. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're already sick of seeing my face, you can go and listen anywhere you want. I don't know, maybe there's some obscure hipster spot you got that does podcasts. I don't know, you got me there, but I'm on everything else you can think of. Maybe you're listening to this, you're like, what does this guy look like? Go on YouTube, search it, same name, easy to find. But now it's time for me to bring on my special guest. And my special guest is right here and right now. And my special guest right here, right now is Tim Coyle.
I'm
How
here.
you doing, man?
I'm doing well, sir. A little
That's
tired, but
awesome.
I'm awake. I'm alive.
So we're getting right into it. So you were doing some work this last few days. You said as a gaffer as well as grip. Is
Yep.
that
Well,
right?
I helped the gaffing department with lights a little bit more than a grip normally would. It's a pretty small production, pretty small team. So I'm normally function as a gaffer or actor on film sets that I
A
get paid
gector?
for. Yep, a gector.
Okay.
And sometimes on projects I even do both, which I really like. Not a lot of sleep is had on those projects, but it's always fun.
it, it's great to be able to get both sides of those. Like, and I don't know. I wish there was, you could kind of do it all. But so what were you doing? You say you're okay. I fucked up already. So you were acting and
In this project,
this
I was just on crew.
okay.
I think the next project I have, I'm acting and gaffing that one, and that will be a 2 or 3 week shoot near Bremerton, Washington, for a horror
Oh shit.
feature, and we'll get to stay on set, and those are always my favorite type of shoots because I live in McMinnville myself, and most of my work is in the Portland area, which is about an hour plus away. So every gig I do is just a heck of a commute. So living on set is a
Oh
dream for me.
yeah. Um so that's awesome. That's cool you get to go up there. It's not in Bremerton, is it?
It is. It's proper
Oh,
Bremerton. There was
okay.
something with I think one of the producers that we're starting to work with actually lived there, and he wanted to use his house as one of the locations, and he had some contacts in the town. So we were kind of brought up there, even though a lot of the crew is Vancouver, Portland area.
Yeah.
Most of the actors in that one will be from Washington. So it's kind of featuring Washington a lot more than some of our other ones.
It's not you're not at a Mexican restaurant there, are you?
No, no, no. We have not. at least as far as I know, there's no locations in the cards that are Mexican restaurants. Did you used to work at one there?
Um, let's see. I wrestled outside of one with the locker room there being in behind the meat counter. Um, so kind of one of those things. And so when you're up there, is it going to be like filming like 12-hour, 14-hour days or something if
Yeah,
you're on set?
I think a lot of the days will be like that. I think there's a time shift because it goes from day shoots to night shoots. So I
Oh,
think some of the days might be a little lighter, a little heavier. Yeah, it usually if the production does it right, they'll have a flow to it where they'll kind of like move you in and out of the
yeah,
day and night shoots instead of just suddenly back to back because I've had a couple of those and everyone's kind of a zombie. It doesn't really give the actors a good chance to do their best work, and of course, crew's just dead at that point. So, yeah,
yeah.
hopefully this one, the group I'm working with is Seventh Street Productions, which I've done probably 4 or 5 features with them now, where I've
Ooh.
gaffed most of them. I've acted in a lot of them. Uh, yeah, and they usually run a pretty good mix of kind of pushing it as much as we can and being efficient, but not killing people with the hours.
Right. And there's a fine line there. There's a
Yes.
very fine line because yeah, once you get too many hours, quality starts to drop. And but you can go and push that very far and just get to that. It's like a really hard thing to be able to do. And um, so have you like been leading any of them or have
I
any
have
projects?
I have been a lead in mostly shorts. I kind of like the character actor roles a little bit better because they're a lot funner. Because with the leading character usually has to be a little bit more vanilla, so more people can kind of identify with them. They don't get to be weird or creepy or funny as much as kind of vanilla. So
Yeah.
I've had like the best looking actors on set on some of the projects that I've been on coming up to me and actresses, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so jealous of your role, dude." And they're the leads and they're getting paid more. They're in more scenes, more lines and everything. They just think that what I'm doing is a little bit more fun. So I'm kind of glad I landed in that. And that kind of helps with some of the roles, especially when I do dual role, where I can still get my crew function done. Because there was one where I was in it a little bit more, and that was a little bit more dicey about getting the work done fast. But we also have a project coming up after this one, sometime in the summer. I'm not sure dates, that I will be one of the main characters. It's the same Seventh Street group that we're working with. We're gonna make a smaller budgeted movie after this one that we're making in Bremerton. And the one that we're making in Bremerton is called Conjuring the Cult, and it's a semi-sequel to our first film, or one of our other films that we did called Conjuring the Beyond. And this one is involving cult and kind of a family drama type of thing. And then the one after that is still being ironed out, the exact story, but I know that myself is going to be one of the leads along with Calvin Morier McCarthy, who is the spearheads Seventh Street. He's the usually the director, writer, producer, gets all the projects together, gets the money together, brings the people together, and we'll have uh, our other crew that does like B cam will move to A cam. Eric Shebach, he's a really good member of the team, and he's even going to pop in to play a character most likely. So that's the one. The next one that I'm doing in Bremerton sounds like a lot of work, but I'm looking forward to it. But the one after that, I'm looking forward to even more because I know we're going to be able to do that, uh, no problem, and we're going to be able to work in an aspect of improvising into that and maybe a little bit more comedic than some of our projects because a lot of them that we've done have been, even though they're on the cheesy side of horror, which can be funny in its own way, have been trying to be a little bit more serious. So I'm just looking forward to having some fun on that one.
Yeah. So to go back for a minute here, do you remember what we were filming when we met?
Yes, we
Oh,
were both extras on a TV show called The Vault. And I think we might have been on season 1 or 2. And we might have been, were we on Shrill together as well?
I think so.
And
What was the vault? I
the
don't.
vault was the late night at the college campus where we had to have like maroon. I swore I ran into you.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably.
and we did talk about you getting your license for uh, sorry, my brain. Oh,
I'll go
for
for hypnosis.
yes, there we go. And so I remembered from that, and I believe that that was season two of a show called The Vault, and it didn't come out for like years. And then I finally heard from one of the other extras, oh, it finally came out on like Xfinity's streaming service. So who knows if it's out there, but you might see us as blurry blobs in the background.
Which is a thing. You get to be a
Yep.
blurry blob, and but dude, it's like it's so much fun.
Oh yeah.
There's people. I'd say maybe 7 out of 10 shoots that eventually you're with someone in there who starts complaining, and that's just something I never got. Like, is it time to go home? Can I get cut? Like, why are you here? Like for any other job, sure. Like, is it time to go? But like with that one, it's just like, come on, don't do
Yeah.
that. Like, this is fun.
Yep. For some people that don't know, doing extras work or background work in the background of TV shows or movies, you're kind of the lowest rung on the totem pole. You're almost more of a prop than an actor or a performer. So if you transfer over into doing filmmaking, you never want to put any of that stuff on your resume. And normally people that get to being in higher positions like actor or gaffer will not do extra stuff. Uh, I'll still do it just because I love it and it's fun. Because as a kid, I used to pay for DVDs and Blu-rays. Well, I guess not Blu-rays as much when I was a kid, but to see the special features and see them make the movie. And in this, you get to watch them make it. And usually, especially if you're doing a TV show or a movie, you are going to get paid. Now, it will be boring. You might have to bring a book because a lot of it is hurry up and wait. You'll get there super early, bring a bunch of different clothes, just kind of hang out in a boring room until you're needed. And then once you get on camera, you might not even be seen in the final shot. You could be sitting right next to the lead star. You could even have they could give you a line with the star, and then they could either cut it or they could keep your video and then replace your audio so they have to pay you less. So it's not something that you would want to put on your resume or something that you would really want to do to further a filmmaking career. But if you just want to see how a set runs and see the different functions and meet other awesome people that are like passionate about film and just happy to be there, uh, doing extras work is a good option. But it is just sitting around and doing not much. And you're getting paid and you're usually getting fed fairly well. And the amount of people that come in and complain about doing that is very funny to me because they might think it's going to be like Hollywood and it's going to be action, go, go, go time the whole time. But what other job have you got paid to just sit there and wait?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I mean, the only other one I did where I got paid to sit around and wait uh was doing security on a set. And that
okay.
was the only other one, like for
Yeah.
Grimm. Like for a while I was outside the sound stage. And I would just sit out there on a chair and read a book. And like
Yeah.
this is awesome. This like
Yeah.
this is great. Um and I mean, yeah, like it's not a bad gig, but yeah, you can't really you put it on there, like yeah. So do you have like a reel? Do you have
Oh,
a reel?
I do have a makeshift reel. I've been really bad about building an updated one because I think it's just because I work so much in crew that I might be a little bit more familiar to a lot of the projects that need actors. So I haven't really had to build one. I've been able to keep
Cool.
on getting roles just kind of word of mouth or they know me from a different project. So I really need to. Another thing I need to do is go after an agent. But one of the pathways to that is, which I've been told I could, but one of the pathways is that you have to go to ongoing training, which I would love to do. I would love to take classes because even the best actors, they will still train, keeping your senses sharp, different ways of thinking, different schools of thought. So it's very helpful to keep training. But the weird situation I'm in is since I'm in McMinnville, which is about an hour away from most of the classes, and I would do so much crew work that if I paid for any ongoing courses, I would just not be able to go to like probably 90% of them because I'd be working. So I'm in a bit of an odd spot with that. But I have been getting paid roles for years now, and I have pretty good mix of doing, I'd say, primarily gaffing crew, but I do get to play a good bit of roles, and I'm happy about that because I did get into it first through acting, through doing extras work. Because when I was a kid, I wanted to do special effects, makeup
Okay.
like for scary movies and monsters and everything. I found out to do a lot of that, you have to actually look at the real medical textbooks of like people's wounds and diseases. And the fake stuff I could look up all day. The real stuff, no, that's not me. So I kind
Yeah.
of researched going to effects school, but it was very costly. So I kind of paused. And then finally in 2017, when I found my way into doing extras work, so many of the extras were amazing in pointing me to different filmmaking groups on Facebook and also mentioning different acting classes if I wanted to get into that. Well, I was convinced I was like, oh, I'm not Brad Pitt. I can't act. What are you talking about? And everyone that I said that to was eventually like, dude, you kind of have a beard. You look a little different than a lot of people. You have like an identifiable look. They need character actors. They need like the weird neighbor or like the crazy guy. Like you can act. You just maybe not the Brad Pitt roles. And so that opened up my mind, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it out. I started taking acting classes, shaking and sweating the whole time, and I think it just took a while of working through it, and I do have some short-term memory issues that make acting maybe not as easy as it is for some of my co-stars that I work with, but I work through that by just repetition, and I'll rehearse lines a lot longer than most of the people I work with, but I'm able to work through you know, uh, any insufficient uh, parts of the brain through just basically just drilling it over and over again and putting as much time in as I can.
Yeah. Have you ever, so I had this thought because I'm very much the same way with that. And like trying to remember lines is uh, yeah, it's gonna be a lot longer than a lot of other people. And have you ever thought about going the route like you say a word, like let's say your line is oh hey, my name is Tim, and then so you say it, like record it and then leave some space, like say my name is Tim, and then leave like that
So,
part, and
so
then yeah.
that's how I did start doing it, and I did try to even do different voices just for myself to be able to tell the different people apart. And then
Yeah.
I started getting a little bit more in depth with it, and I started editing it a little bit more, and then I figured out, oh, on my computer with a free sound editing program, Audacity, you can just record what's playing on your computer. So now I've taken to editing the script so it will read write in Google text to speech, and I pick different voices for each character, and I'll record them, I'll edit them together, I'll space them out, I'll make a version of it with all the lines, all the descriptions, so I can like get actions along with lines and like intentions. And then I'll make a version where it's just lines. So like when I'm working and I can't like rehearse with it, I'll at least be hearing repetition of lines, because I want to get to a place where I don't have to think about the lines. I'm only thinking about how I want to play it or what I should be feeling at that time or what the character should be feeling.
Right.
And then I make the final version, which is, as you say, basically a fancier version of that, where I do have not my own voice to act off of. I can kind of speed things up, slow them down, pitch them up, pitch them down to kind of make the dialogue flow a little bit better because, as we know, text to speech isn't 100% yet. It's getting close.
It's getting close.
But yeah, that's the only way I can do it because I was working a part-time job before I went to this as my only job, and I just was driving so much all over the place, and with the commute up to Portland all the time, I that really saved me because on all my drives I could be either rehearsing if I was familiar with it enough to not need my lines, or I could be listening to just the lines or the whole thing just to get it like cemented in my head. I will have no question about the lines.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so so with like being a character actor, so then you really like it's more about I talk about this so much now, like because someone said this to me, like when you know your fucking character, the way you know your character is how they would be at that point, doing kind of whatever, like like something so mundane as you're in the drive-through of a McDonald's and they fuck up your order. How does your character react, and what's your character gonna do? Um, and then it's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of fun. Then you can kind of just, what would your character do? Like, and it doesn't need to have, I don't know, some scripts I assume, or some, directors, writers probably want their stuff said verbatim and
Yeah.
are very into that. But then, yeah, there's some that let it have you know, a lot of leeway and shit of what goes on. And so, what's kind of your way, if
So
you
the way
had
I
it?
try, I have a little bit of a bad habit where it's drilled into me from some of the acting courses and classes I took where they didn't really bring up the possibility. Maybe it's because they were prepping for more like super high budget things. They were saying you need to say it exact, phrasing it exact. They wrote it that way for a reason. And if you want to even change one word, you ask either the writer or the director or a combination of both of them. So I got that in my head. So I will try to even learn lines that will never be natural to me and just play with them to try to make it feel less choppy when, and then I'll kind of dread asking the director if I can change something. And every time I've asked, it's been a very small thing. It's been like, oh, uh can I say he's instead of he is? Things like that. Every single time they've said yes, so I shouldn't be as like timid about it, but those classes sure drilled it into you. But my experience with the uh, independent stuff, they're usually really open to changes as long as things stay fairly the same. I have acted with a few other people that had basically leeway to do whatever they wanted, and it made it to where you had to improv the scene, even though you like had a skeleton of it. Because they wouldn't give you your next line prompt. So, of course, you couldn't. And since I'm such a stickler for trying to get the lines correct, those times, even though I made it work, I would be a little bit panicking, like, oh, I got to make that make sense. Okay, so maybe you can see that on my face and on the screen, but hopefully they can just chop that bit off as I'm like kind of scrambling to figure out what to do. But I do like, especially if I work with a director who can give some sort of direction of what they actually want, or even if they don't know what they want, at least give adjustments to what I'm doing so I know that I'm doing the character justice or filling the story function that I should. Because sometimes I've worked with some people who are English as second language, and so the script, some of the words and the cadences are not something that I would be familiar with. So I'm trying to like dissect the lines and make it make sense in my head when really the best thing is just getting with a director and having them give you a little direction, just a little bit. And that's my favorite thing. One of the things that I don't like is a lot of times the directors or writers on set, they'll give you like one or two takes. I'm like, okay, that's good. Okay. And they don't want any variations or changes. And I was like, wait, I know I didn't do it perfect. Come on, give me a chance to give you better. So that's the only time where I don't get mad, but I'm like, dang it, a little down on myself. But
Uh,
it's worked out okay so far.
if they like it, I guess that's
Yeah.
kind of what matters, in the grand scheme of things. And so have you got to any parts where you're leading a production, I guess?
N Not in a feature. I have in a few shorts. One of them was with Video is the Future, a studio out of Portland that is now sadly closed down. It was led by Michael Gibson, and it was a romantic comedy short about a I think it was like a girl's inner dialogue, telling her all the bad stuff, the negativity about not being cool enough, not being whatever enough to talk to someone that she liked. And the thing that happened, the little uh, funny thing about the short is that since found her guy that she was interested in a bookstore, she is imagining literary characters that are telling her all the different points of view, like, oh, you're not cool. Oh, you got to do this. You got to do that. So it's kind of a quirky little comedy. And I think I reprised that character in another project, but the character that I played really perplexed me at first because they had a role of a sea captain. I was like, oh, I have a big old beard. This will be fun. I've never played a sea captain. I'd love to give that a try. And Michael Gibson was my friend, so I messaged him and said, "Oh, I'd love to audition for the sea captain role." And another character in the project was Elvis Presley, and he said, "I want you to audition for Elvis." And I was like,
Okay.
"Okay." And I did end up getting it, but I think part of the reason why I got it is it was kind of the joke that I looked nothing like him or acted nothing like him really. And that kind of gave me confidence because I was like, there's no way I'm getting this. So I think I had fun with it and was maybe a little more goofy than I would be in some of the auditions. So I think that's why I got that one. And then there's been a few student films over the years that I don't know have come out that where I was a lead, but I usually do play a supporting part. And I've liked the lead parts that I have. Uh, but as I've said, the more that was a really good one because I got to play a character, but be one of the main featured characters up front instead of usually the characters are in a little bit of it. So that was kind of cool. If there could be like a character role or a comedy I could be in where I was in the movie more, I think that would be technically like the funnest for me.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of comedy here and there, and of course on set, even the most horrific movies that you're doing, a funny thing will happen or an effect doesn't work right, or someone says the wrong line and everyone just busts up laughing, even at the deepest, darkest moments. Usually, if it's that kind of set, there are some sets that have like more serious subject matters, like the I won't say, but things get pretty serious and people make sure to be respectful when things are happening. But for the most part, it's a big bunch of fun with your friends on set for as long as you're doing it right.
Yeah. Well, what I meant was like uh directing or producing
Oh,
or writing, like that part of it, or are
oh yes,
you
I
or
have.
behind the camera
So
or anything else? Because it seems like
in
you're kind of everywhere, which
oh
is
yes,
a
yeah,
awesome person to have on set anytime. Like,
I have done a ton. So I started out doing the extras thing, moved into acting. In the acting classes, they really drilled into you like, hey, if you want to get roles, part of it is just people knowing that you are an option. So getting a PA role on a set, the set likes you. You mention, oh, hey, I'm an actor. They might keep you in mind for another role. And then this isn't very normal, but on some of the very, very small sets, low budget, sometimes an actor won't show up for a teeny part and you might get bumped up into that just because you will make the shoot happen, whereas all the money would be gone. And, it's so hard in the indie world to get everybody together. So
yeah,
I've started doing PA work a lot, and people wanted me as PA because I think part of it's I have ADHD, so I'm always like looking for something to do. So I was like just helpful to all the different departments. I would
perfect.
be helping sound, lighting, camera, like anything. So I got moved into doing lighting mostly because COVID had happened. I got my tax rebate. So I bought a small lighting kit. And then all my filmmaker friends who liked working with me as PA and actor were like, wait, you have lights now? You're the gaffer. So I was like, okay, time to learn this. So I've been a little bit learn YouTube is my school. Being on set with other people who've done it for a long time is my school. Where some of those people that I'm on set with did go to film school and they had a way better foundation starting out than me. But a lot of them told me that I was doing it more the right way because you get more theoretical training in a lot of film school where the practical hands-on could be more valuable because a lot of times you'll get somebody from a film school who's never been on set before, and even though they know everything, they can't do anything yet.
Which is
Uh,
crazy.
yeah. So I've been happy doing that, and then I even helped sound a few times, and again, with some of the tax rebate, I bought my own small sound kit. And that made a lot of the indie projects come after me wanting me to do sound, even though I would try to point them to other sound people in the community that were experts at it, because I would say I'm better than a PA with a boom pole, but I'm nothing compared to the person with like $15,000 worth of gear, you know. But then again, a lot of the projects that I was doing didn't have budgets and they were paying out of their own pocket, like not being able to make their house payment or car payment because they wanted to just make their project. So I felt after a while, I felt bad because other sound people were like, "What the heck, man? You're taking my jobs." And I'd never really liked sound much, so I finally stopped doing that. And then
Like as a
I
boom?
recently, yeah, I was booming and mixing, a one-man band type of thing. And
Whoa.
the people that I did it for always liked it and said the sound quality was good, but I always just had the knowledge in my back of my head. Like there's other people that like this more and are better at it. Unfortunately, a lot of them cost more, so it probably hurt the projects a little bit going forward. But in my mind, I was taking lower pay because I was like learning. But now that I've gotten to a certain point, I've started turning down all sound gigs. So and I have helped on some sets in the role as AC assistant camera, helping like rig up cameras, helping mount cameras, helping even on slate sometimes. And then recently, for a movie with 7th Street features and Breaking Glass Pictures, I wrote, directed, edited, and gaffed a short for an anthology that
Ooh.
the distribution company was interested in, the Boogeyman. So while Boogeyman isn't my number one like horror property that I was interested in since I was a kid. That's Zombies 1978. George Romero's Dawn of the Dead is my favorite movie of all time. I was floored by given the opportunity to direct, write, and you know, gaff, edit my own project because the Seventh Street group wanted to see what all of us could do because we're all kind of like multi-tools, a little different than some sets. Usually people are just in one area. A lot of us act, a lot of us do multiple crew functions. So that was kind of like a thank you to us from 7th Street to give us an opportunity to actually be the head, be the writer, be the director, make all the creative decisions. And so I did get to do that. And
That's
that was
awesome.
wild because it was a 3-day shoot at a house in Vader, Washington, I think. I think it's Vader. Uh,
Okay.
and it is an amazing house. We shot a different movie there. We just want to keep going back to this house because there's a bunch of forest around it and a lot of amenities around there and a really cool looking house. So we went there. I worked with actors that I've worked with before as co-stars and just being crew. They were great. They stuck through it. Steve Larkin, a British actor from the Portland area, he was my lead along with Jax Kellington, which she was from Portland, but I think she's more located in LA now, but she came back for the film. And that was a huge learning experience. And then afterwards, I only had 1 month to edit the project. There was
Oh shit.
supposed to be 2 months, but the big problem was is that I was on two other projects as actor and crew, and then like two other projects as crew. So there was no sleep happening. I'm sure, I'm probably going to go back and just for myself make an extended edition of it, polish it up a little bit just because there were a lot of scenes that I had, or not a lot, a few scenes I had to cut and trim down because an anthology movie, we were kind of amazed. My short that I made was way longer than it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be 15 minutes and the rough cut of everything assembled together was about 35. So
Okay.
I had to really trim down. So I'll probably go back and just as like kind of a learning thing, kind of make an extended version of that. But I also got to act in a different short in that same anthology. And apparently the distribution company liked the scene that I was in, and it is that more comedy kind of tone to it. So I think that's why Calvin and 7th Street want to do that movie after the next one we're doing is to kind of give distribution more of that. Maybe people will have some fun with it. So I've got to do a lot of different functions. I'll say that the directing didn't come as naturally to me as a lot of people because a lot of people have done camera before, so they have more of an idea for blocking and things like that. But thankfully, I had my awesome crew that a lot of them had directed before, so any gaps that I had, they were able to help push me through it. And I was one of the most proud things I heard from some of the crew is that even though mine was a little bit longer hours than some of the other shorts that we had done, everyone had a great time. They just everyone was like all love at the end. It wasn't one of those shoots where everyone's just dead dog tired and want to die at the end and like don't want to talk to each other, which I've had that on a few ones. But so I'm just happy that everyone had a good experience and they felt good about it. So yeah, we'll see if people enjoy it. But yeah, that one will be out on March 5th. And the word is that it will be out on Amazon, I think first for rental or purchase, and then all the movies that we've done have eventually landed on different streaming sites for either just watching for free or purchase. One of our movies, which we all thought was kind of wild, part of it's because it does have Conjuring in the title, but our other movie, Conjuring the Beyond, a single YouTube channel was able to buy rights to play the movie or partnership with the distribution company. So you don't have to pay to watch it. You can just watch it on YouTube, but they get the ad
Cool.
revenue or whatever. But one of the links months and months ago was it 4 million views? I think by
Oh,
now it's like 5 million. And then they had another one up that was 500,000 views. And you know, a lot of it probably is people coming in thinking, oh, this is another Conjuring movie or wanting that, oh, a horror movie Conjuring. So that they might have been thinking that, which of course at that point we made I don't remember the budget, like 20, $30,000, something in there where the bigger movies, actually it might have been a little bit more, but the bigger movies, that's not even one day, you know.
right.
So some of the people in the comments might have been a bit harsh about the quality of it, and we're like, well, we made it with like 7 people in a school in 2 weeks, so we're just glad that we're in the conversation. But yeah, that
Yeah.
one was really cool to see on YouTube, just because we don't get metrics from the distribution company for any of the streaming services or Amazon, so we don't know if anyone, like how many people
Oh,
are watching properly.
that's
Uh,
weird.
well, I
What?
think part of it's because the business deal we have worked out. We've been making. We're kind of. I don't know what you would call it. We're kind of almost like this distribution company's little horror factory where we'll keep on making horror
Cool.
movies. But part of that was that, you know, nowadays there's so many streaming movies, so many TV shows, so many everything that you know, the possibility that it's going to become like an Aliens or a Star Wars is so tiny that like you're probably not going to get uh noticed. And the main thing for all of us at 7th Street is that we wanted to make movies. Like we're obviously not getting paid like a ton or anything, but we that's our main thing. We just want to make movies. So I think the way that the business might be structured is that we don't own the rights to it. We just make it for them. So then at that point, if you owned it yourself and you put it through a distribution company, they are supposed to give you numbers, and then you make money off of how many views. That's my vague understanding of it. But a lot of times, not with our distribution company, but with other distribution companies, I've heard horror stories of what's who's to say that they're giving you accurate numbers? They could just give
Right.
you any numbers unless you audit them at thousands of dollars at your own cost. And you kind of have to have a bigger movie at that point, because a lot of the times the royalties that people make are like $80 a month for some of the indie films. So like spending thousands of dollars out of pocket to even try uh to, you know, fix that isn't going to work out so much. So we manufactured it, or Calvin, really, he's the business head, and I might be speaking out of turn because I wasn't involved with any of the business dealings, but from my understanding, he was able to manufacture it in a way to where we get to reliably make movies. I think last year we made 3 or 4 features, and that was with us doing, I think the years kind of blur together, but
Yep.
that was with all of us doing different projects too, with like different crews. And because some of us work with other crews a little bit more than other, a little bit more hired guns, but 7th Street is like the home of all of us basically.
That's awesome. Um, and yeah, because I mean, it would be nice to know kind of like, you know, at least kind of who's watching it, but like
Yeah.
it, I guess it doesn't even matter. Like if they're just having you fucking make whatever, like just
Well, we
keep
do
making
get
movies. They're like, you're doing what you're doing. You're doing
well
great.
that we do get a slight idea because we do get to see some YouTube reviews and like reviews from horror websites. So we do
Okay.
know that there's interest, but like the exact numbers of who's watching, it was always a mystery to us. So just seeing the numbers, we were like, oh, that's great. Awesome. Maybe someone will someday be like, "Oh, hey, that's that movie from 7th Street. I liked that other one, or that other one was okay. I'll give it a watch." So hopefully we just get noticed somehow. Not like I'm not having any dreams or aspirations of becoming the next A24 or like millionaire Blumhouse or anything, but just as if people could notice us enough to where we could just keep making movies, I'm happy.
It sounds like they're already kind of at that spot. So I
Yeah,
mean,
it's it.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're living the dream, you
Hmm.
know. So like,
Well,
what
for now,
what's
it's th partially thanks to my living situation with my roommates. They're super awesome. Not charging me an arm and a leg. I help out with food and all that, and we've helped each other through the years. So with filmmaking, especially in the indie world, you kind of have to have a good support system to make it
yep.
happen. And my parents are super supportive. They even offered when I started in this, like, hey, do you want to quit your job and we'll support you and you just go after it full time? And I really appreciated the offer, but I would never feel right about myself if they spent a lot of money and it didn't amount to anything. Uh, so I didn't take them up on that offer, but that is unfortunately one of the things that's kind of required to do it regularly, unless you can break into higher budget productions, which usually requires a move to like New Mexico, LA, Louisiana, any of the different film meccas where they have way more films going on, so you actually can make a living wage. Whereas here, even though they do have larger projects in Portland, from my understanding, they don't always, but a lot of times they do bring in just the people from LA or other places. So, like every once in a while, they'll hire locals. I have seen locals on some of the projects I was just extra on in some of the higher up positions, so that some people do make it in. But from what I hear, it's a lot of it's really hard to make it in Portland, which is why I kind of split time with. I don't do too many of them because I'm so busy that a lot of times when I get asked, I can't do them. I like commercial projects and like interviews for internal videos for companies through a couple different production companies. One of them is a Portland Video Production Company. They're great to work with. The rates are usually a little higher than indie stuff, of course, because a company has marketing money to put behind the project instead of where it's someone like losing their house payment to make the movie happen. So it is nice in that regard. And then the people are great. They're usually super chill. Even though I'm usually pushing to do something a little fancier, just anything beyond like okay is like they're beyond the moon about it. So it's a little less frustrating than some films you get put on because a lot of films you get put on, you get put in a losing situation where like you won't have power for your lights, even though they told you you'd have power. Or the room is so small and it's just white walls. So if you put up a light, it's just going to be bright. You can't make it look like dark and shadowy and spooky. And so they are usually, not always, but usually a little easier and a little higher paying. And from my understanding, that's how a lot of the production people make it happen, especially in Portland areas. They're kind of weekend warriors with the story-driven stuff, but they mainly do the commercial stuff because they pay the bills and they can pay for their kids, medical and all that. But I do commercial every once in a while and mainly story-driven, so a little less money, but a little
Yeah.
more creative satisfaction because really it's the people that you work with and when you're able to do something nice on the commercial gigs that make it kind of feel worthwhile, whereas usually it feels worthwhile as long as everyone's trying their hardest on the indie projects no matter what.
Yeah. Uh, so have you like gone and thought about just on a whim, like going and doing something further out, like kind of out in the middle of nowhere, like not in the middle of
So
nowhere, but like one of like, you know, going down and doing a thing in LA or New
I
Mexico or Atlanta or
I've had it posed to me by a few different people that they want to fly me places for different productions, but a lot of I think with especially with gaffing, doing lighting for projects. Uh, Part of what makes me valuable in the Portland area, in indie world, is that I have my own gear. So getting all your lighting and gear there would be exorbitantly expensive. So I'd have to be a little bit more familiar with like the lighting rental uh, places in the area. So I'd probably have to go a few times, just as you know, just to see what's in each area, just to know where I could go to even get lights when I get there. But also one thing I found with the filmmaking is it's I always hated that it was this when I first got into it until I learned that it was very important. It's who you know.
Who knows
So
you?
if I go to a different film market, no one's going to know me. So I don't even know if I'd be able to work. I'd have to pick up a different field of work, and then who knows, I might not even be able to get back into it. I'm pretty well established in Portland. So and the it's who you know thing I always thought was terrible and elitist, and I didn't understand why it was a thing until I started actually filmmaking. And there is an aspect to it where some people are just mean and difficult and they ruin the set. But part of the I think the biggest part, even beyond talent for It's Who You Know, is the reliability, especially in the indie world, is that one person not showing up can totally tank a whole shoot. So
Yep.
if you just show up and are friendly to work with, even if you don't know everything yet and you're not like the most talented, like I've had people tell me they wanted me on a project when I try to send them to somebody else and they'd be like, no, you're easier to work with. So, and it's like, it's not something I did calculatingly. It's just because I wanted to do filmmaking ever since I was a kid, and I was finally doing it. So, of course, it's easy to be happy in that situation.
Yeah. And that's fucking awesome. That's the person you want to have on there. And then someone that knows how to do most everything on set. Like that's who you wanna see. And then also, yeah, someone who can act. So when you do comedy and stuff, are you just doing it totally like straight? Like I
Uh,
assume
y-
that's kind of what's up with you, and I can assume that'd be
I,
pretty funny.
I've done some kind of straighter roles with a slight comedic tilt, but usually the more comedic roles I do, they even have like character voices and stuff. So I'm a little bit more but I haven't been really given a project that had to be like thread the line of comedy and drama a little bit more. It's mainly
Okay.
been like either one or the other. So most of the comedy stuff I've been a little goofy, but I kind of really like that because I know it's not good because sometimes what is funny on set and what feels right on set won't translate to the edit. But it's just
Sometimes.
super fun getting the cast and crew and the other actors to crack. And
Right.
I know it's bad for I'm not trying to do it, but yeah, that
You,
yeah.
you know you're onto something. Do you watch and do the editing then with them sometimes? And then
I
does that are there parts where they're like, oh shit, like I didn't know this part was fucking hilarious until I'm watching it back and like we gotta reframe it.
I haven't been able to be part of the editing of any of the projects I've been in myself per se, but I have been sent clips and like outtakes from different parts
Yeah.
from the editors, and the editors are just sitting there laughing their asses off. And sometimes it's not even like an acting thing I did in the scene. Just sometimes I messed something up, and the way that I did it just for some reason they think it's hilarious. So I have gotten a bit of that. I've got to with some of the more serious projects with 7th Street, I have got to be around as Calvin edits and kind of see his process. And he is a very quick editor. Like
Oh,
we wrapped a trailer or we wrapped a shoot, and 2 days later he had a teaser trailer out.
whoa.
Yeah, he is like insane in that way, and it's almost like a drive to as soon as he gets home. If because I go and stay at his place a lot when we shoot in Portland or Vancouver area because I don't I could drive back to McMinnville, but a lot of times we're just shooting the next day and we're friends and like hanging out. So even if we don't have a shoot the next day, we get to hang out. And I'll hang out there with him and he's just a madman going in and speed mode, editing everything super quick and everyone's super impressed by it because they're like, "Holy crap, we just filmed that." Usually you don't see something from a project sometimes for a year or two.
Yeah, and that's sometimes even fast.
Hmm.
Um, so then, what's what's next? What's next? on the agenda
So
for you?
next for me is the project that I'm on right now is called More Than Only, and I believe it's a family drama. It's about I believe it's LGBTQ characters that have had a surrogate daughter with one of their friends from high school, and kind of like the inner workings of that. And from my understanding, they have a lot of fans because they've done a movie and they've done a couple series off of the same property, and
Whoa,
there's a lot of interest in it. So it keeps on going, and I'm working with great
cool.
people. Not 100% the same crew as I worked with last time, but some new people. They're awesome, so I'm happy working on that. And that one is a little bit different because some projects they don't a lot of the people are still working their day jobs. So this one is all weekends, which sometimes I wouldn't do because if you take a 2-day job on a weekend, it could disqualify you from a 2-week job of a feature shoot. So
Right.
I stay away from those sometimes, but this group I really liked, and now is the kind of slower time of year anyways. So I have had to turn down offers for it, but not as much as I would like in the summertime. And it was an offer I got a while ago. So I was happy to come back. So I have that will last up until a week or two before I go off to Bremerton for the shoot of Conjuring the Cult. And then after that, I have another project that I'm not crewing on, but I'm acting and I'm playing basically the bad guy. I have to
Gotcha.
be more aggressive and angry than I've ever had to be in a role. But the part that gave me comfort in that is because I don't think I'm the most intimidating guy, but literally in the instructions for that one, they did say he was all bark and no bite. So like you didn't have to believe that he was actually intimidating. So I was like, oh, I could do that any day, you know? They fortunately liked what I did in the audition, so I got brought onto that, and I think that's April. And then I have other projects that are asking about dates and talking about stuff, but nothing really in the books yet besides that other project in the summertime. But things can get a little crazy schedule wise, especially coming up. I had to turn down 2 jobs for one job the other day just because with filmmaking, especially in the Portland area, or maybe it's everywhere, it just seems to be feast or famine. You'll have like multiple offers for one time period or nothing for a while. And it's usually fairly busy, fairly steady until you get to the winter time. Because of course, bad weather, people don't want to film, people are want to stay inside. But I didn't feel that the first 2 years. People were telling me that the first 2 years that I did this is my only work. And
Yeah.
then I think everyone got their projects from COVID filmed finally. And then this year was the first year where there was just like nothing going on in the winter time. And I was kind of scheming. I was like, oh God, if this keeps going, I'm gonna have to start making stuff myself of a one man, short or something. But thankfully the productions have picked back up. So I'm just hoping for enough work to keep me busy, keep me going, and keep me making films.
Yeah, man. And if not, hopefully you can do those one man
Yep, yep.
shows right there. I wouldn't mind seeing some of those. So yeah, man, I'm happy we got to talk and I get to have you on here and happy that you're getting work and
Heck yeah.
still doing that, man. That's awesome.
Heck
I'm
yeah.
happy to see it. Like every time I see it like doing that, I'm like, all right, man, good fucking deal, man. This guy, I'm happy for him. So
Well, thank you, buddy.
um yeah, you bet. And yeah, so how are people gonna find you? I guess you've said how they can find you for most any all your work. How can they find you either online or in a back alley or something or
Well,
whatever?
online, I don't have an official site or anything yet. Maybe I should work on that. Or I don't even have my own production company, which I've been told a few times I should get an LLC. But I do have a Facebook that I use, and I do use it a lot for filmmaking. That's kind of, even though I do have friends and family on there, that's one of the main places in the Portland indie world you find out about filmmaking. So my name is on there is Tim Coyle. That's Timcoyle. And you'll see a picture of me dressed up as that Elvis, which is not very convincing, but That's me. And then I'm also on Instagram, and I can find you the exact name. It is, I think it's Timothy.Coyle87, and that's Coyle. And I do mostly, sometimes I just film stupid videos and put them up like something dumb, but I do a lot of behind the scenes and like promo stuff for the projects that I'm doing, just to show people that you're working. That's something that was kind of drilled into me from my acting classes.
Cool. And yeah, if you're ever looking for like I was gonna say like so there's this guy and every time like he kind of has your look, but like in like if you did a lot of if you're kind of fucked up, but he's this comedian guy, his name's William Montgomery, and he
William
has
Montgomery.
kind of your look and like if you were like you said if you were doing the all bark no bite kind of a thing, um that kind of deal, that's kind of like if you want to get kind of a feel of what that could
Cool.
look like, that might be something to
And
check
his name
out.
is Michael Montgomery?
William Montgomery.
William Montgomery.
Yeah. It's out there. So just so you know. But
Cool.
yeah. So yeah, man, thanks a bunch for being on here. Happy to yeah, we'll get you back here in a few months if you're up for it.
Heck yeah.
Um Cool. All right. Yeah, whatever
Cool.
that is, like May or something.
Yeah, just let
Maybe
me know.
before it starts. Cool. All right. Well, hey, have a good rest of your day, man.
You too, sir. Good to catch
All
up
right.
with you.
Likewise. All right. That's Tim Coyle, dude. Book him, find him, do whatever you do. Good guy, man. So I'll tell you how to get a hold of him. That's easy. And thank you everyone for being here and listening and doing what you do. And thank you for that. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.